Well, hey guys, it's January. Everyone is laser focused on individual wellness, lifestyle, and fitness goals. And with that comes a lot of talk of different diets and heavy promotion of different diets. I'm a board certified dermatologist, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about the skin benefits, if any, of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting has gained a lot of popularity over the past several years for weight loss. I mean, you'll find communities on the internet who swear by intermittent fasting, not only for weight loss, but they'll claim a variety of other personal health anecdotes related to intermittent fasting. What the heck is intermittent fasting? If you've never heard of it, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is a dietary strategy that focuses on alternating periods of eating with periods of, well, not eating or fasting. Now, there are a variety of different ways in which intermittent fasting can be approached, different time-restricted windows of eating and not eating. You may have heard of things like 16-8, OMAD, 5-2. So intermittent fasting focuses on when food is consumed and the quantity of food consumed. Intermittent fasting is thought to work through altered liver metabolism. A lot of people refer to this as the metabolic switch, in which the body alternates from using glucose derived from the liver with fat cell derived ketones during periods of fasting. Laboratory research suggests a variety of benefits to the cells of your body that come with fasting, including improved glucose regulation, improved stress responses, less inflammation, upregulation, and autophagy, a pathway that basically recycles and gets rid of damaged molecules, overall reducing oxidative and metabolic stress in the body. In the field of intermittent fasting, the working hypothesis is that by altering metabolism, downstream of that will have a variety of health benefits. Indeed, clinical trials do in fact demonstrate intermittent fasting benefits a variety of health conditions, including obesity, a variety of cardiovascular issues, diabetes, and fatty liver. Unfortunately, these studies are not perfect. They have a variety of limitations, and they're not generalizable. They don't look at adolescents or adults over the age of 65, so it's very difficult to extrapolate these findings to the population as a whole. We don't have answers as to which groups of people intermittent fasting may or may not help, and could it cause harm. These studies are often looked at only in the short term, so we don't really have a good sense long term of the safety ramifications of intermittent fasting. All right, but you clicked into this video to learn about the skin benefits, if any, of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, as I said, has been shown to benefit a variety of cardiovascular, cardiometabolic parameters. For that reason, logic would follow that it would have skin benefits as well. Remember, your skin is the largest organ in the body. It constitutes 20% of your weight. It is a window to what is going on internally. Most of the research, if not all, that we have on the benefits to the skin of intermittent fasting is going to be laboratory based, meaning not on actual real people. It's either going to be cells in a dish or animal models, rats and mice. You are not a rat, you are not a mouse. So do not overinterpret these studies and think that they, equate to reality in humans. Could be very different. But the research we have to date is encouraging, interesting. Animal studies suggest that intermittent fasting or caloric restriction may actually reduce the irritation experienced with retinoids without compromising the efficacy of retinoids. If you guys have ever used a topical retinoid, in the beginning they are very irritating, and unfortunately this oftentimes limits people's ability to tolerate them. Well, in research in animals would suggest that intermittent fasting may improve the tolerability of retinoids. How the heck would that even happen? It is postulated perhaps this may occur by improving the antioxidant levels in the skin, and also by reducing the activity of matrix metalloproteinases, which end up, kind of driving irritation. There are also several laboratory-based studies on the benefits of caloric restriction and intermittent fasting on wound healing. A laboratory study in animals in which they fasted them for 4 days every 2 weeks for 2 months showed an improvement in wound healing in the fasting group in comparison to the non-fasting group. Now, that's interesting because you do have to think about, when we're talking about caloric restriction, I can see how there may be some anti-inflammatory effects that might actually help healing, but you have to be very careful because nutrients are key for good wound healing. I've talked about this in other videos. Things like vitamin C is essential for proper healing with collagen synthesis. You also need zinc for enzymes that are involved in healing to even work. So, you know, these studies, they obviously are caloric restricted, but not nutrient restricted. So that's key, you know. Anyways, and again, you're not a mouse. Now, how this might have benefited those laboratory animals, the researchers postulate that in the setting of intermittent fasting actually results in improvement of these cells in the immune system called the macrophages, their ability to just kind of come in and engulf stuff, which is their job, that they are actually arguably the most important aspect of good healing, is the macrophages coming in and eating up a bunch of stuff and, you know, just kind of cleaning house so that healing can ensue. And in the setting of intermittent fasting in laboratory animals, it's thought that they get better healing because of improvement in phagocytosis, or, you know, kind of the Pac-Man effect of these cells. Research actually does kind of suggest that perhaps intermittent fasting could, in theory, have an anti-aging effect, basically through reduction in formation of advanced glycation end products in the skin. I've got videos talking about this, but glycation is a non-enzymatic process in which sugars kind of glom onto things like collagen in our skin. And these advanced glycation end products are responsible for wrinkle formation. I've got videos, again, explaining how high sugar diets and eating a lot of processed sugary foods can contribute to the visible signs of skin aging, basically through the formation of these advanced glycation end products in the skin. Well, logic would follow that with intermittent fasting, you are to some extent likely getting some degree of, you know, glycemic improvement, and that, you know, can downstream of that result in fewer glycation and advanced glycation end products. And that has actually been shown in some laboratory studies, but again, nothing in humans. It's not like we have, you know, a population of people who followed intermittent fasting and a population of people who did not. And, you know, they were all other factors in their lives were exactly the same, and those who did intermittent fasting had fewer wrinkles. No, we don't have any studies like that whatsoever. Speaking of a low glycemic diet and intermittent fasting, I will remind you that we do have evidence to suggest that a low glycemic diet may help some people with acne, because it has been shown to reduce sebum, aka oil output. And it's that oiliness that is a key component of acne pathogenesis. With increased oil production, you get clogging of the pores that creates a more hospitable environment for the acne-causing bacteria, Cutibacterium acne, to thrive and jive and create a lot of inflammation that leads to breakouts. You know, some studies suggest that high glycemic diets are associated with more stubborn and inflammatory acne. And so logic might follow that, you know, through intermittent fasting may be a dietary strategy to get around that. Intermittent fasting may also impact the sleep-wake cycle. As a matter of fact, many people who follow intermittent fasting anecdotally report improvement in sleep quality at nighttime. Now, with the skin, there are a variety of different parameters that do follow a sleep-wake cycle. For example, transepidermal water loss and dryness increase as we sleep. There's also differences in the sleep-wake cycle with oil production, inflammation, blood flow. And for these reasons, you could begin to question, well, with intermittent fasting, is it possible that we could tap into some of these differences in our sleep-wake cycle simply through, you know, maybe better quality sleep? So pretty much everything that we have in terms of skin benefit from intermittent fasting comes from, you know, laboratory-based research. Obviously, a lot more research is needed. When we're talking about actual research on real people, we do have one small study that came out, I think, last year showing benefit of intermittent fasting for psoriasis. In this study, they took 24 people who have psoriasis. Their psoriasis all was more or less the same severity level at the start of the study, and 12 individuals in the study went the intermittent fasting route, and the other 12 individuals followed their regular eating pattern. The intermittent fasting group specifically followed a type of intermittent fasting called modified intermittent fasting, or 5-2. Basically, for 5 days of the week, they followed their regular diet. They didn't change anything. But for 2 non-consecutive days of the week, they followed a caloric restriction, only consuming 500 kilocalories on those days. And again, those days were not consecutive. After week 6 and week 12 of doing this, the intermittent fasting group overall reported improvement in their psoriasis. They had less scaling and they had less itch. Cool, more research is needed. Like, that alone is not enough to begin making a recommendation for intermittent fasting. But dietary interventions for skin diseases is definitely an area of research that I personally am very interested in as a dermatologist. And I think really we need to be doing a lot more to uncover different maybe dietary approaches, dietary strategies that can help certain skin conditions. Outside of dermatology, the clinical trials that we do have on intermittent fasting do show benefits in terms of things like obesity and diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Interestingly enough, these issues affect people with psoriasis. Psoriasis, most people think, oh, that's that skin thing, right? In reality, psoriasis is actually a systemic disease that happens to have skin manifestations. People with psoriasis can go on to develop a very debilitating type of arthritis, and they also are an increased risk for cardiovascular disease. Oftentimes, people with psoriasis tend to be overweight and deal with obesity, have trouble managing their weight. I mean, this is a well-established association with psoriasis. So I definitely think more research needs to be pursued on intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating in the realm of psoriasis. You know, maybe it could help people get better control of their disease, maybe even respond to medications better. Now, outside of psoriasis, there are a lot of other skin conditions in dermatology that have comorbid cardiometabolic disease. Hidradenitis suppurativa comes to mind. I've got videos talking about this skin condition. It is debilitating, and there is definitely an underlying inflammatory systemic component. Those individuals are at more increased risk for metabolic diseases. And, you know, weight management is a key aspect of getting control of their skin disease. Because being overweight and obese, it puts a lot of inflammation on the body that drives that disease. It's an inflammatory disease. But B, when you're overweight, you have more skin-on-skin friction and contact, and that actually can, you know, further incite the disease. So weight management is a key aspect of getting better control of hidradenitis suppurativa. So I would personally like to see some more research on intermittent fasting in these skin conditions. But do I think that intermittent fasting is something that everybody needs to be doing? No. I mean, you know, it's probably one of those things that only certain groups of people are going to benefit from. To assume that any one dietary approach is going to be the best for all people, it makes no sense. It ignores, you know, genetics. And I think it's also silly to just focus on intermittent fasting and ignore food quality overall. You know, you could intermittent fast eating nothing but McDonald's and Arby's and chips and popcorn. Probably not going to help your psoriasis. Probably not going to help your, your acne. At all. You may, not be eating for 16 hours, but if the 8 hours you're only eating junk, well, I mean, you're really not doing anything. I'm not a exercise physiologist. I'm not a registered dietitian, but I do know that a lot of people who struggle with weight management, different approaches work better for different people. And the bigger picture is that when it comes to weight management, it's really about thermodynamics, what you take in versus what you put out. So for individuals who struggle with weight management, some groups may benefit from intermittent fasting basically as a way to execute caloric restriction to put themselves in a calorie deficit needed to achieve a healthy weight for themselves. So for that reason, I don't think it is the end all be all. I would love to see more research outside of just weight management. Could it help people with these other inflammatory skin issues? The internet is full of anecdotes and communities, aka echo chambers. So be very mindful when you hear people sing the praises of intermittent fasting. Great that it helped them, but don't just assume that copying what someone on the internet does for their health, for their weight, whatever, is necessarily the best thing for you. If you are interested in intermittent fasting, I would highly encourage you to discuss this with your healthcare provider before just embarking on it. Again, as I said at the beginning of the video, we really don't have any research looking at this in adolescents, teenagers. We don't have any research looking at it really in people over the age of 65. And most of the studies are kind of done in the short term. So that makes me worried about the long-term ramifications of this type of eating pattern. So don't just hop on the bandwagon without, talking to your healthcare provider. It could impact things like the medications that you take, if you take any. All right, so that's what I can tell you about any potential skin benefits of intermittent fasting. Honestly, more research is needed. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. And if you're into these types of videos, on the end slate, I'm going to put my video on the potential skin benefits, if any, of the keto diet. I'm sure you're hearing a lot about the keto diet. I'll put that in the description box too, along with my video on the vegan diet or a plant-based diet and skin benefits. So check those out if you are interested. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.